We are live.
Good evening.
From Female Shit Show. And I have a peppermint tea bag in the corner of my mouth.
Why is that?
My teeth hurt.
I don't think I've ever really had wisdom teeth pain.
Whoa!
This is the second time we've talked about teeth in our intro. But wait, I want us to say, so you know in the first episode where you were telling the Kim Kardashian story and I was like Joe Wicks, I had a Zoom call with his agent today.
What the hell? Oh, sick.
But yeah, so that's exciting.
That's amazing.
Career moves.
We making Joe Wicks with
Love that. That's the only happy news I have for you because now we're going to deep dive into
honestly
it.
same.
I've got other things to worry about in life, like not getting catcalled in the street.
Well, that was a constant worry.
Yeah.
Which leads us nicely onto the topic of today, sexual harassment. Now, the reason it feels like we've done some heavy eps recently is because the world is pretty heavy and there's some heavy shit going on. Like, kept it topical. I mean, if you're a girl listening, you'll know how important this is. We know it's a constant thing, and it's been in the news a lot. It's as comparable as last year, last springtime, BLM being a big thing. BLM was a big thing.
I mean, there's
constantly.
so many comparisons you can draw from that.
Just because it's hot and it's in the media doesn't mean it's not a constant movement and it's not an issue all the time.
Exactly, like this is the thing, it's just giving women the opportunity and the space to finally be able to voice their opinions. Your lived experience as a female, to be able to share that with other women who have all, obviously, 97% of us been through the same thing.
But it's something that should never be stopped talking about, just the same as BLM.
I feel like there's just so many different things happen at the same time. Synchronicity, where loads of things have happened at the same time and all about the same thing. Like the Sarah Everard, she was just a young woman walking home, like we could all be her. And also at the same time, Synchronicity is the Crime Not Compliment campaign by Plan UK, was to express that it's a crime to sexually harass someone. It's not a compliment. Honking your horn, whistling out your window, it's not a fucking compliment. It's a crime. It's sexual harassment. And that was like a couple of weeks before the 97% survey came out.
It's ingrained in you as a girl. Like, I say girl because this happens when you're young. That uncomfortable feeling never goes away. It always feels like this isn't right. This isn't appropriate. I don't know who you are.
Yeah, because when you're a school girl, at school, in your school
So maybe
uniform,
that's why it always feels uncomfortable. Oh, we take it as a compliment, but we can't. We've learned not to. Here's the timeline. International Women's Day 2021 was March the 8th. It was March the 10th that the police officer was arrested in connection with the disappearance of Sarah Everard, who was walking home on her own in brightly coloured clothing. And then this research study, an investigation by UN Women, found that 97% of women between the ages of 18 and 24 have been sexually harassed, with a further 96% not reporting those situations because the belief that it would not change anything. They released this article on March 11th.
The 97%.
For these three things to happen concurrently.
From what age? 19?
That's not including...
Yeah, that's literally not even including young children.
Everything that happens to you before you're 18, which, if anything, is worse then. You know what is so terrible, and I don't really want to sound like I'm just defending men doing anything, but they're just fucking stupid. They don't get it. They don't know that they're trying to make people feel uncomfortable or make people feel like shit.
This is like part of the problem. Obviously, it can be a power thing. Some grim men like having power and control over making young women feel uncomfortable.
Ultimately, that's what it is, but I don't think they realise that's what they're doing.
Maybe, but then on the other hand, misogyny is so embedded in like even our behaviours, our language. So men might not even realise they're doing it, and that's the problem. It's like
it's society.
Internalised misogyny within society. Yeah. And there's a really, really good point by Jackson Katz who says we talk about how many women were raped last year, not how many men raped women. We talk about how many girls in a school district were harassed last year, not about how many boys harassed girls. We talk about how many teenage girls in the state of Vermont got pregnant last year. As you can see how the use of this passive voice has a political effect. It shifts the focus of men and boys onto girls and women. Even the term violence against women is problematic. It's a passive construct. There's no active agent in the sentence. But when you look at that term, violence against women, nobody is doing it to them. It just happens. Men aren't even part of it. So they're never going to be held accountable until we change literally the language surrounding violence against women. No, it's men being violent towards women.
That's so crazy. I mean, it's terrible, but it's the way our world is, and it's what you grow up in and what you learn and what you know, and it's big changes are needed. My first instance that I can think of, we were probably 12, 13. You know when you're having a sleepover with a few friends and you like go to the shop like at night?
Yeah.
This must have been about... That is literally it, sweets from the car. Like, it was...
During sleepovers.
Yeah, it was not even that late. This car in front of us on the pavement, pulled up and opened the door, pretty much just to scare us. We were visibly young teenagers. All I remember is hearing the guys in the car laughing. For them to think that's funny, to like shock and scare and upset young girls.
I don't know what it's going to take to get it into their minds that that's uncomfortable, because it's almost like they get enjoyment out of that being uncomfortable. What's going to make them stop if that's not? And this is what I mean, it should be made a criminal offence.
It's bullying. It's the same as any other hate crime that's like verbal abuse and racism and ableism. It's saying something that's gonna upset someone else on purpose.
Saw a really interesting tweet that was something like, oh, my manager told me, made a joke that I would make a really good phone sex caller, and she made him explain what the funny part of that joke was, and he stopped laughing. When you get a misogynistic man to explain his inappropriate joke, it's no longer funny.
Exactly. That's brilliant.
This happened all the time to me. I would go to the gym after school, so I would have to get the public bus home. Obviously, we were in our school uniform. And like there were so many times which I would ring my parents crying, begging them to come and pick me up, because someone had pulled up in front of me at the bus stop, wound down their windows and was like shouting at me. I'd get called a bitch so many times for not responding to them, because I was like scared that if I looked up and like acknowledged that they were shouting at the window at me, it would encourage them more. So it was like so terrifying that I would leave the bus stop because I didn't want to put myself in that situation where they could.
And it's these early experiences, this literal trauma. Like there's a reason why we both remember those specific events. I don't remember anything else from that year of my life other than that thing happening. That fear, that feeling of being uncomfortable, it just never goes because you learn it so young.
The anger when I'm out running, I swear to God I can't go out running and not be yelled at or like have a car honked at you, and it's so embarrassing for like no reason. Exactly. I can't explain that, like especially when there's other people around and someone's gone past you and they've honked their horn. What is everyone else around you on the pavement thinking?
Well, if it's a girl then they're like, oh,
classic, another one. What goes through your mind to still be doing that?
Thing is, really, Anna, these men who do these kind of things are fucking cowards. When has it ever been a guy who's on his own? You do it in a car or a van if you're with someone else and drive off straight away. They don't have to stay there and like be confronted
with a group of guys.
And if it's like on the street, then it's never someone just on their own. It'll be 2 or 3 or 4 guys. They're fucking cowards. They're trying to be funny.
Also, the amount of times that which I've either run past my friends or my friends have drove past in cars, male friends, and like have beat the horn to like wave or like get my attention, be like, oh hi, just seen you, and I haven't looked. I ignore them every time because I've programmed myself to ignore them, because if I look up and acknowledge them, they win if I've acknowledged that they've honked their horn. I mean like the guys that are honking your horn, like not my friends. I even had a guy friend be like, I honked my horn at you, like you didn't hear me, or anything. He didn't get it. That doesn't even have to cross his mind. Guys can live their whole lives without this ever being a worry existing in their world. Like they don't even have to think about it. It doesn't cross their mind
until they find out that they've got an acquaintance or someone in their work who's gay, and then they get all panicky that they're going to be sexually harassed by one gay guy. Sorry, God. Are you so attractive? Oh, is it not nice being sexualised?
Oh my God, that's so wow. Another one that I just remember because it was like really recent, just like the perfect example, what is happening at the moment. I was walking to town with Sam and I could tell the whole time there were 2 guys behind us because I could just hear them talking whilst we were walking up. As we were getting towards the post office and I knew he was going to be going in, the knowing that people are behind you or like men are around you, that all of a sudden it's like the feelings of being on your own, being vulnerable, they all come back straight away. The guys walked past me, turned around and like made a comment about my arse. Gross old men made that comment and I was like, this is typical. I'm on my own for 2 seconds and my boyfriend's literally in that shop and he's so unaware of what just happened because he doesn't even have to think about it.
And when it does happen, when something happens, it just justifies all that anxiety and the feelings you have about it anyway. Exactly. Like, I knew it was going to happen. It's terrible, but it's just like an uncomfortable truth that you have to live with as a girl, that you should have to expect this.
We got people to share their experiences with us, and the really, really sad thing that I found was like most of the stories involved the abuser was someone that they were either in a relationship with, were friends with, they thought they trusted, and it's like it's the ones you never expect.
The people you end up getting close to can assault you or to the point where...
Because they abuse your trust in your relationship. So
the kind of strangers that would do it on the street or in the car, or from the cars or out in a club, the people they're close to are the people that are in danger. They're going home to someone. They've had a girlfriend.
That's true.
They're the people that are in
that advocate that behaviour.
Yeah.
And they think they can get away with it.
You know that, say out of 10 cars, one car beeps at you. Out of those 10 cars, who are you going to guess is most likely to...
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Not be very nice to his girlfriend if he thinks it's okay to beep his horn at her.
That is true, but then another guy that wouldn't catcall someone out their car would still make a misogynistic comment about a woman with his friends in a private space because they're cowards. They wouldn't do it to their face, but they'd do it behind their back. Or they're the boys that don't understand consent. They're the boys that don't understand that no means no, and when you're saying I don't want to do this, or like I don't want to have sex, they don't get that.
Yeah.
Or there's men that rape you whilst you're asleep.
Yeah.
You know, there's all sorts. It's about consent. Like, that's still sexual harassment. And I'm sure it's very different type of men. You know?
Yeah, I know, 100%. It's just further down the spectrum. If you can't understand that someone doesn't want to be shouted at or beeped at, then the capacity in your brain is probably not there to understand when someone says no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the backlash of, like, not all men is that, well, we don't know which ones. How the fuck are we supposed to say, he could rape me, he couldn't, I'm scared of this man, I'm not scared of this man? We have no idea. You know,
have you seen the shark analogy?
Yeah, and, well, my... one that I was
really
going to say was,
explaining it.
Okay, not all men, not all cars could hit you, not all planes could crash, not all wasps could sting you, not all foods you can have an allergic reaction to, but it's still fucking scary.
Yeah.
And you have no idea. It's the unknown that's the problem.
Sorry, but why is it, like, I'm just getting all lives matter vibes. Like, shut the fuck up.
That is it.
It's like exactly the same people that have such fragile egos that they can't stand it when someone is expressing their pain.
There's a minority problem.
And they're like, oh, that's so offensive. You are racist if you were saying all lives matter. You're dismissing them in saying that's not your time.
It's the ignorance and the dismissal that's the problem.
Yeah, and it's exactly the same frustration. Like, we are expressing experiences with sexual harassment, sexual abuse, and you've got men saying, yeah, but it's not all men.
Sorry, can we not just address one point without making it about everyone else?
The whole not all men hashtag was completely derailing the conversation and twisting the wave of women speaking about street violence into, like, feminists man-hating.
Exactly.
That wasn't what it was at all. And I just think if you're the type of person that didn't get women speaking up about street violence and you took that as man-hating, you are absolutely the problem in this society.
Being a feminist doesn't mean you hate men.
Oh yeah, no, of course not. Like,
every time you use the word feminist, you followed it up by I don't hate men.
Yeah. No, because it has such a bad name to it. Anyway, the hashtag not all men was trending above Sarah Everard. The focus was on them defending themselves over prevention of women getting attacked, the murder of an innocent woman, and like what we can do to change that and prevent it from happening again.
Yeah.
If you're a guy, it's like, ask yourself, do you really want to be the men on the side of the argument who are protesting, protecting women, or do you want to be the one standing with us and helping? Because to me, it's black and white. Like, if you're the kind of guy that would do that, you're the kind of guy that would assault a woman. Instead of getting defensive and deflecting this conversation, which could instigate change, real change, and women being safer, instead of getting defensive, focusing on your own image perception, why don't you help us tackle the problem instead? We know it's not all men. Of course it's not all men. But we wouldn't have boyfriends if we thought it was all men. Yeah. Like, we wouldn't have male friends if we thought it was all men. We're not raging feminists that hate men. It's a waste of time to be using your breath to say, yes, but it's not all men, when instead what could have been coming out of your mouth was to understand these women's struggles. What can I do to change this? Yeah. Stop wasting your time saying, yeah, but it's not me. No, so if you're going to join the conversation,
actually be constructive. Ooh.
So should we read out that story?
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, they need analogies to actually understand what we're talking about. So this whole not all sharks thing was from a post that says, for fuck's sake, lads, looks like we have to break this down again, so how about this? There are about 500 species of sharks, only 3 eat people, so yeah, your chances of being eaten by a shark are pretty slim. But that doesn't change the fact that the chance still exists. Nor does it mean that if you go for a swim and a massive fish with a big fuck off fin starts swimming towards you, you can just go, oh well, statistically that's probably not a great white, no need to panic. Now imagine when you found yourself surrounded by sharks, not just when you're swimming, but all the time. Yes, sharks have legs. In this analogy, just go with it. Sure, most sharks are harmless, but literally every person you know has been hassled, attacked, or followed home by a shark, and or forced to listen to a shark's shit jokes about eating people just like you, while all the other sharks in the room are just laughing or ignoring it. Okay, so Emma, who wanted to share her story with us, sent us this post and she said, this explains it in such a great way. It's not all sharks. It could be any fish. She said, in the summer of 2018, she was walking home from a tube station where she lived in South London. She noticed she was being followed by 2 men. They took it in turns to walk in front of me and behind me, and then they would swap and watch me pass. It was strange behaviour, so instead of walking down the streets to get home like I usually would, I clocked what they were doing and changed directions. They followed. I went into a corner shop. They waited outside. I left the shop and saw them standing by the end of the road. Doubling back on myself, I ran the rest of the way home and walked straight into the kitchen where my housemates and our friend sat. I told them what had just happened to me. These friends are both males, as you can imagine. They looked at me and raised their eyebrows.
You're probably just imagining it.
One of them said.
It's still light out. Nothing could have happened anyway.
The other said.
Don't flatter yourself, Emma. You're not that fit.
What's more shocking, the fact that 2 men attempted to follow me home, or the fact that 2 of my closest male friends at the time didn't hold them accountable? The sharks aren't the problem. Sometimes it's the harmless fish that swim along beside them who can do the most damage.
There's a reason why people don't speak out as much, because if your friends react like that, rather than
they're just like shutting you down, it's literally like going to someone and saying I'm really depressed, I'm suicidal, and them saying cheer up.
Except those
You're
more
scared,
threat.
just not even taking it seriously, like not even realising like how dangerous that was.
Don't be a bystander. And this is with anything, not just this. Why not stick up for people?
Yeah, don't be Emma's fucking friends.
I seen something really good. Women get friend zoned too. We can just handle the rejection.
Yeah.
Okay, we're friends now, it's fine.
Yeah. But like guys have made friend zone into like
a terrible
exclusively
thing, like,
for males.
Oh, she doesn't want to have sex with me.
Yeah, like it has to just be all or nothing, sex or nothing.
Yeah. I just want to read this one about Sarah Everard. She's like the catalyst for all this kicking off, I feel like, in the same sense that George Floyd's murder was a bit of a catalyst for the BLM protests as well last year. The reason why BLM was so big last year and people had the time to protest and the time to think about it. Okay, I'm just going to read this article. Yesterday, 10th of March, a police officer was arrested in connection to the disappearance of Sarah Everard. This news has rippled across the country, resonating with the darkest fears of women who are walking alone home at night. Executive Director of UN Women said, "This is a human rights crisis. It's not just enough for us to keep saying this is too difficult a problem for us to solve. It needs addressing now. To be visible at all is to be targeted. There seems to be no choice that can avert this kind of horrific experience." Sarah Everard was wearing bright clothes, walking on a well-lit residential road, and in communication with her partner. Another survey by UN Women found that only 4% of women report incidents of sexual harassment, 4% of the 97. If we're made to think that that's normal and that's something that we have to expect and experience and be conscious of constantly, then of course it's going to lead to more serious stuff. And if it's the case where maybe people think they can get away with stuff or that there are no consequences, then it's going to get more serious.
And I think that's why the
private spaces.
Misogyny is now a hate crime. That law was passed because it's like something needed to be done for there to be a deterrent. Like I have experienced sexual harassment my whole life and I've never reported it because like what can you do? My housemate was doing a workout down the road. A guy who might not have even worked at that building site came around the corner and just like sat across the road watching her, and she was filming it at the time because she was filming her workout, and so you can see the guy just sit there staring at her the entire time, even though she has photographic evidence of that guy perving on her essentially. Like what can you do? You can't report that, like nothing would happen. So it's like we just go our whole lives
it's almost as if it's
not
like
reporting it and not
a
doing anything
police
about it
problem
because we can't.
Again, like an authority
we haven't
problem
even talked about
and a
that.
power problem.
You can't trust anyone.
Yeah.
You can't see. There's nothing which distinguishes guys that are capable from rape to normal guys.
What makes you think that you can trust a police officer as much as
Exactly.
any
If
other
a police officer raped and killed a girl, like who else can you trust? It's like, you know when you play those games where you swap the cups around and one of the cup has a ball in it?
Yeah.
That's
stranger on the street, policeman, boyfriend. Ooh, which one's going to rape me? Any of them. So another really interesting thing about, you know, the quote you just read as well with, don't flatter yourself, you're not even that fit. Conventionally attractive women are more likely to be believed.
Oh, that's so horrible.
Yeah, this was in a Washington study, which obviously is going to create a further divide between the experiences of women who report sexual harassment by some, you know, being perceived as more valid. So a policeman could say, I don't believe you because you're not that pretty.
Yeah.
There's no wonder that 96% of that was not reported. Okay, what about street harassment of underage girls? They found that 72% of pupils who did report public sexual harassment described receiving a negative response from their school, with the majority of participants stating that no real action was taken. A further 47% didn't report incidents because they were afraid of not being believed or taken seriously. That's what I really meant about it being there from so young. It's just there.
This is why I get so scared on public transport, because when I was younger and in my school uniform on a bus coming home, a guy sat so close to me and like was just staring, like literally was squishing me up against the window, sat so close to me with his legs like spread, and was like staring at me the entire time. And I got off early and like ran home like at a different bus stop because I like didn't want to be on the bus anymore.
Disgusting.
And that's just like one out of so many.
It's not a shock. It's not surprising. You know that every girl feels like this and everyone has an experience of it.
I feel like the 97% thing, it wasn't a surprise, but it just made our experience more tangible because it had figures that we could put our experience to. They weren't publishing that article for the girls. We already knew that. They were publishing it to make a point that this is how many girls have been sexually harassed. I think more for the men.
Even easier for them to be able to dismiss it.
To say not all men.
If not every girl can talk about it with every guy they know, then they don't know about it as much anyway. And then if they do, it's not as much of a big deal for them, perhaps.
There was a story that your friend sent in about something to do with her work manager. Why is it fucking work managers? Like dirty old work managers when you're young girls working like part-time from school or sixth form.
Yeah, so just obviously if you've sent us something in and we don't read it word for word out, someone's probably said something very, very similar, which isn't shocking at all. But thank you so much for everyone who is interacting with us and sharing your thoughts. This is exactly what we want to do. It's not just us talking at you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, one listener has written, I'm pretty open about this. Being a sex worker, I get harassment daily from men expecting things from me. I have my own personal stories of being sexually assaulted by men I trusted. So already it's kind of that expectation and that kind of male gaze. Not every girl who's a sex worker is doing it for male attention. Breaking news, men, it's not all for you.
Like sometimes they enjoy that for themselves.
Oh my god, 100%. She's doing it for herself.
You still have the right to give consent and take consent away whenever you want. It's your
like,
body. It's still your body. You're just choosing to use it in a different way.
It's like any business, any side hustle, someone expecting it for free.
Yeah.
It's the exact same. It's like, you
give me some art for free.
You make art prints, so you can do that for me for free.
Yeah.
Okay, this has happened. I'm just going to read it in their perspective. This happened to me 3 times, but the worst was with a guy that I trusted. We had been on and off for a long time. We'd never had sex. He came to mine and things started to go that way. I genuinely really liked him, so I wanted to wait, so told him to stop. He got too handsy, kept pushing. I kept saying no. It was then that he told me that of course I wanted to do it for other people, why not him? He got super aggressive with me and I just froze. I couldn't move. I couldn't work out why this person who I cared about so much was treating me like this. Oh,
it's just expecting that they're going to get what they want.
How much clearer can the word no and stop
Oh my
be?
god, yeah, literally.
Like, how much further can you go
Yeah.
than pushing someone off you, saying no and saying stop? What else can you do after that? She also said he came back into my life about a year later, attempted the same thing. I confronted him about it because after the second attempt, it was like a shock of realising what had happened the first time. He told me that I was overreacting, that I enjoyed it, and that I was so wet, so how could it be rape? He threatened me and told me to never say anything about it because it would ruin his life.
You've probably traumatised her for the rest of her life.
So that's a really good example of someone you trust pushing their luck with you.
Yeah, exactly. Because you've done it once, why wouldn't you do it again? That's actually exactly as I've said that. I just remembered that when I slept with my ex for the first time, when we met up the next time, he was like pressuring me to do stuff and I didn't want to. Like I was still so young. I asked him to stop. I said no and he said, why? You've done it with me already. Why wouldn't you do it again?
The tea analogy with... Yeah, the tea analogy. Let me find it.
Another girl sent us in a really similar story to what you just read out, where he started kissing her and she said she doesn't want to, it's weird because we're friends, and his response was just to kiss her again. She kept saying no. It got to the point where I was saying no so often it became less awkward or uncomfortable to just go along with it, just to go along with the kissing to prevent it becoming forceful, because doing that is less uncomfortable than saying no.
Yeah.
He used the words, because I don't want to isn't a real reason, when I forced his hand off me, when she actually had to physically force him. And again, it's like when you tell your male friends about your experience, they don't believe you. It's like she told her male friend about this. They're mutual friends with the guy. He said, I've never seen that side of him before. It's a bit awkward.
Yeah, because why would
the whole
they?
friend thing's just like not believing you, or like them not holding their friends accountable.
Not only to listen to the women in your life who are trying to share their stories and their concerns, call your guy friends out on it as well.
Exactly. And stop like making derogatory comments about women that you pass in the street, even if it is just to your friends, like, because that is constituting the behaviour that leads to rape and sexual violence.
I've found you the tea analogy. If you're still struggling, imagine instead of initiating sex, you're making a cup of tea. You say, hey, would you like a cup of tea? If they say, yes, I'd love a cup of tea, then you know that they want a cup of tea. If you say, hey, would you like a cup of tea? And they say, I'm not sure, then you can make them a cup of tea or not, but be aware they might not drink it. If they don't drink it, and this is the important bit, then don't make them drink it. You can't blame them for the fact that you went to the effort of making the tea off the off chance that they wanted it. You have to deal with them not drinking it. You making tea doesn't mean you're entitled to watch someone drink it. And if they say, no thank you, then don't make them tea at all. Don't make the tea. Don't make them drink the tea. Don't get annoyed at them for not wanting the tea. They just don't want tea, okay? They might say, yes please, that's so kind of you. And then when the tea arrives, minutes later, they might not want the tea anymore. Sure, that's annoying as you've already made the tea, but they remain under no obligation to drink your tea. They did want tea, now they don't, and that's okay. Some people change their mind. If they're unconscious, don't make them the tea. Unconscious people don't want tea and can't answer the question, do you want a cup of tea? Because they're unconscious. They may have been conscious when you originally asked them if they wanted the tea, and they said yes, but in the time you took to boil the kettle, brew the tea and add the milk, they're unconscious. You should just put the tea down, make sure the unconscious person is safe, and still don't make them drink the tea. If someone said yes to tea, started drinking it, then halfway through, put it down, don't keep pouring the tea down their throat. If someone said yes to tea once at your house, that doesn't mean they want you to make them tea all the time. They don't want you to come around unexpectedly and make them a cup of tea without them asking. While you say, but you wanted tea last week, they don't want to wake up to find you pouring tea down their throat, saying, but you wanted tea last time. Is this a stupid analogy? Yes. Of course, you wouldn't force someone to drink tea. But if you can understand how completely ludicrous it is to force people to have tea when they don't want tea, then how hard is it to understand when it comes to sex? How amazing is that?
That's just brilliant. But also I am thinking the whole time about you got here and I'd already made you a tea. So next time I'll ask you.
Don't presume I need peppermint tea.
Oh, I thought
you got lucky because I did, and I drank it up.
Thank God you drank my tea.
Yeah.
But when you said about how you can wake up and someone's pouring tea down your throat, another story that one of my friends wrote into us was that a guy that she was seeing, they went to like a party and she woke up and he was having sex. He was raping her essentially because she couldn't give consent because she was unconscious. I was like, has it affected you going forward, like in relationships and stuff? And she was like, it's a shame because like stuff I used to enjoy, I now can't. And it's like the trauma of it, like
100%.
Stuff that she used to enjoy, like being dominated or like choked or whatever, like she now can't have a guy on top of her because she starts to freak out. And like this is the mid-sex section of this podcast, which my friend wrote into me about, and I was like, yeah, that's happened to me as well. But a guy that she was seeing who she thought was the best thing since sliced bread, she was having sex with him and he fucking took the condom off. It's called stealthing.
And they'll say,
oh no, it just fell off.
He was like,
it
oh
can
my God,
potentially
it came
constitute rape. Because if you get pregnant without your consent...
If sex is tea, then condom is milk or sugar, and it's the extra part of it that needs to be agreed to.
A peanut in someone's tea who's allergic to... It's like putting a peanut in someone's tea who's allergic to peanuts. Because they don't know that they're drinking the tea with a peanut in. They don't know that they're having sex with you and you've taken that condom off. I was
peanut tea.
Yeah. And I was like, my ex used to do that to me all the time. When I wasn't on the pill, I didn't want to go on it because I knew it fucked me up.
Men really have the audacity.
And then every single time, skip uni, go into the doctors and get the morning after pill.
Even someone you're with, a boyfriend, you're scared to say something to them because it's scary to ever address a man doing that shit to you. Like, it's just as scary as not saying something back to the guy who's staring at you on the bus.
Yeah, like, is it going to change it, or is he
That's
just going to think, I'm not okay with it, but he'll do it to another woman? It's like, no, he needs to know that that's wrong, that constitutes rape, and it's not acceptable, it's a crime. Until guys have a way that they can understand something, it being a crime, not just it upsets women and we don't like it, it's a fucking crime. Until it's that, they won't listen.
This is gonna, just to interject, this is gonna be the best episode yet.
Great.
Also, yeah, that's it though. We're now starting more of that conversation, the awareness of it, the power of getting that start of the 97% out there. Well, also, I just want to mention so many workplace-related ones, which is, what the fuck? I'm here to do a job. I'm paid to be here. But it's like, that's not a situation you can escape. Imagine if every woman left a job every time she got sexually harassed. The fucking employment rates of women are like, it'd be crazy. Probably
especially if it's a manager, because who else do you go to if they're in a position of power?
Exactly. And it usually would be.
Yeah, we were at a work party. I think I was about 16, 17. So obviously, is 17 the league?
No,
above?
16 is in the UK, but it's got to be, they've also got to be 16. If they're over 18, then it's statutory rape.
Right, okay, well, he was about 40. Yeah, work party, so obviously everyone had been drinking, so he probably thought he could get away with it. But I called a taxi from work to go back home because we'd just finished the work party, and he came outside to wait with me, even though I told him I didn't want him to because I was uncomfortable. He is the kind of person that makes you feel uncomfortable. He's just gross. And then when I was waiting for the taxi, bear in mind I'm 17, which is actually disgusting. I don't think I've really spoken about this before. He was just like looking me up and down, and I was wearing a dress, and he goes,
"Oh, if I didn't have a wife."
He'd just had a baby, a daughter as well. This like 40-year-old man.
Okay, so what if you didn't? You think I'd want to sleep with you?
Exactly.
The
it's
assumption.
Like, so it's not even my choice.
Yeah, okay, what?
What do you think would happen? I'm fucking 17
what
years
about
old.
What I
What,
want?
you'd go to prison?
Yeah, that is what would happen.
And do you honestly think, you bold, short, a fucking old, crusty man, you think I'm going to turn around and go, oh yeah, I wish you didn't have a wife?
I think next time we get honked at, we should go up to the car and say, hi, what do you want?
No, I've honestly, the amount of times I've considered carrying rocks in my bag.
What would you like me to do with the fact that you just honked your horn at me?
Exactly.
What can I do with that? Please enlighten me as what you want out of this.
I think there should be a device that's made that you can quickly get out your bag and it will smash their windows or their tyres will burst. What things have internalised misogyny stopped you from enjoying? It has connotations with the same language that we've discussed about misogyny and things that are embedded that people don't even realise relates to this sort of behaviour.
Yeah.
Is like, you're into fitness, you're into building your body. For guys, that's fine. But for women, say they're building their bum, like they're doing glute workouts, all that shit. You post progress pictures, you're not doing that for male attention or for them to sexualise your body. You are doing that because you are proud of your progress, of your fitness, your achievements. You've put in all that work. It's not my fault that you're viewing my body in a sexualised way.
But do you want to know what this is all about? If a guy did the same thing, it's not about what girls think. It's not about all of it. It's about male gaze. Guys post stuff for other guys. Guys care more about what guys are posting about themselves.
So they assume that girls are also doing it for guys?
Yeah, because they
who
are.
Who else are they going to be doing it for? That's
Because
what they must think.
Whose approval do we need? Who do we care about? Whose thoughts do we care about? Oh,
it's
men.
not even just bum pictures, but that is just like a very, very good example of how they can be sexualised. It can be all parts of your body. Any fitness pictures that you post, there will be a guy that sees that assumes you're doing it for the attention of men. Me posting that picture is not an open invitation for you to slide into my DMs.
Neither's wearing any clothes, putting any makeup
it's like
on,
we're not
the way you do
asking
your
for
hair.
it. We're not asking for it posting those pictures. Female fitness has absolutely nothing to do with sex. Why do guys have to keep making this link?
I thought what you meant with that question, which we'll leave on because it'll be kind
It's
of
the whole like not asking for it thing.
Yeah,
isn't it?
but what we'll leave today on is a bit of a lighter note. What would you do? How would you spend a day if you didn't have to worry about any of that? Exactly, where you don't have to
go to the gym and not have to worry about guys looking at you. Oh, a gym session as a guy would be so nice. Like, you don't have to worry about what you wear.
You know what I love to do is get really dressed up. And this just proves my point. I feel amazing if I am wearing a nice dress and have done my hair and my makeup, and then the second you get unwanted male attention, then I don't feel good anymore.
They're assuming that you've done it
for
them.
Genuinely, like, I've felt so amazing when I've left, like, after getting ready, and then it can be ruined. Like, But yeah, so I'd do that. I'd get really, really dressed up and drink and dance in a bar without someone.
Yeah, oh my god, yeah.
There should be all female nightclubs. How sick would that be?
Yeah, you could literally wear whatever you want and you don't have to worry about it looks too sexy. I think we should.
Thank you so much for anyone who got in touch with us and shared their experience.
Yeah, it was just nice just like chatting to people about it as well.
Yeah. Also, thank you.
Thank you, Georgie.
Yeah. Thank you for the therapy session.
Yeah, literally.
How do we do an outro again?
Oh yeah, so listen up. If anyone is triggered by what we've been talking about, we will leave a link if you do want to speak to like a professional. We're not therapists and we're not professionals in this field.
There's also never a limit on how much we could talk about one topic that we decide to do a podcast episode on. We have to physically stop ourselves from going on. Like, for talking for hours and hours
we'll be
and
here
hours.
till 3 a.m.
We're like, no, this needs to be edited.
Yeah. If you do want to speak to us, our DMs are always open at the Female Shit
That's
Show.
probably the best active place. Anna's meme page,
Yeah, my meme page.
at Female Shit Show.
Email, if you want to email us your stories, it is thefemaleshitshow@gmail.com.
And Twitter is just at Female Shit Show. YouTube is the Female Shit Show podcast. We've got some fun little vids on there.
We'll do
With
some
you
more
some,
soon.
especially
we've
with
just
my
been,
new
like,
hair.
Georgie's got pink hair now.
Hair reveal.
Hair removal.
Reveal.
Hair removal. Do hair removal. We're just beating our legs in a YouTube video.
For the male gaze, obviously.
I mean,
we're unpacking a lot here.
yeah.
Anyway,
Keep the feedback coming, as you always say every week. Honestly, fucking live for feedback. Live
oh
for
my
it.
God, yes,
for it.
please review us.
Thank you so much for listening.
And we'll talk at you next fortnight.
In 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.